Welcome to Intimacy Evolution with Brianna and Mark, where they discuss desire, intimacy, and how to embrace the changes within your relationship. Brianna has been a sexual health educator for 14 years and is currently working as a relationship and intimacy coach. Mark is a licensed professional counselor and has been running his own private practice for 6 years. Together, they have 2 young kids and have dealt with the many ebbs and flows during their 15 years together. Intimacy evolves over time, and that's okay. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Intimacy Evolution. This week, we are going to be talking about how to fight.
Yes, we discussed a number of different titles for this, and that was the most catching one. Communication, how to fight. Let's see what else. Conflict resolution. There's a number of titles that could go with this episode.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about Gottman. This is your forte. I'm going to be in the passenger seat this one. Let you take the wheel.
There we go. Well, we've talked about a couple things through the episodes and kind of how to implement things and try to move things along, but sometimes we still struggle with the communication that comes before or after that, so I thought it might be a good time to talk about that.
Yeah.
I am Gottman trained, which is a John and Julie Gottman. They're some of the leading researchers in couples therapy, how they interact, what works, what doesn't work, that type of thing. So I figured we'd pull some of that in today. Yeah. We'll dive right in. I'm here for it. Okay. Well, I think when I'm working with clients, the first thing we kind of identify is, we talk about defining conflict versus argument versus, what other words could we use? Disagreement. I mean, there's a number of things, but I tend to use the word conflict because that's what we're going to have in all relationships. Doesn't matter if it's with our kids or with spouses, friends, there will be conflict. That doesn't mean it has to be an argument. Yeah. So
I like that differentiation.
Yeah. And so when we get down into it more, conflict's normal. It's mostly opposing ideas or different preferences, that type of thing. And the one true thing that, in my opinion, it lacks, which makes it different than an argument, is it lacks an emotional response. In many conflicts, we could essentially agree to disagree, or we don't personalize it and really get into that thing that happens where you start saying negative things about the other person or something like that.
Yeah. Finger pointing, stuff like that.
Defensiveness, criticism, all the 4 horsemen that Gottman defines.
Well, are we there yet?
Where are we going?
Do you want to? Okay.
Are we there yet?
Go into the 4 horsemen.
Sound like the kids. Every road trip. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah. You guys, if you don't know, I don't know what's happening then. Maybe it's just us. So.
Okay, so the 4 horsemen, let's talk about those. I think that's a good place to set up.
So there was a bunch of research done on how people communicate and what were the things that completely disrupted or stopped communication, or the ability to dialogue about something to get somewhere, instead of some sort of circular conversation that happens to many of us. And so they came up with 4 things that kind of call destroy or completely halt or abrupt stop the communication. The first one's criticism. And so how you can see criticism is whys and yous. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And you can guarantee the next thing out of somebody's mouth is going to at least feel critical. That doesn't necessarily mean the person has that intent.
Yeah.
But that communication style tends to evoke emotion out of the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you get this, like another horseman, defensiveness, right?
Yeah.
I feel attacked. So what do? I defend myself and I attack back.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into this pattern and it goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's a little bit of a struggle. And then the third one is contempt, which, we don't use that word very often in the English language, except for maybe in court, contempt of court, that type of thing. So sometimes it's hard to define, but it's really some show of, I'm better than you type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your wheels are turning. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just taking it in. Like we've talked about, I've obviously heard you talk about Gottman and stuff like that, but it's like I'm at my own TED Talk right now. Just listening to you.
So contempt often looks like eye rolling, or I would never do that, or I could do it better than you. Some sort of verbal, like communication or verbalization of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That increases emotion greatly in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's really going downhill at that point. Gottman, in their research, we talk about what causes problems in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And people will say, oh, fighting about money, fighting about sex, this and that, infidelity, what ultimately leads to a breakup or something like that. And those are issues.
Mm-hmm.
But the communication style that comes out in the research is contempt. The more contempt there is as a communication style
mm-hmm.
in a relationship, the more likely divorce or breakup or significant issues. Yeah.
Keep going. I'm processing. Keep going.
Well, I'm just intrigued by your process.
Yeah.
So,
no.
And then the final one is stonewalling. And so that would be withdrawing or shutting down from the conversation without communicating that. There's a big difference between, I like to talk about how to get out of fights, like how do you exit them?
Yeah.
Which is you make a plan, you tell the person, and then therefore it's not stonewalling. That's a differentiation of the two. Whereas stonewalling is we just shut down.
Yeah.
We either agree or we become very quiet. And what that really is signifying is that the person is overwhelmed. Their emotions are too high. They don't know what to do with them. And they just shut down. And, a physiological measurement of that is during a fight or an argument, if our heart rate gets above 100 beats per minute, we're not doing so well. We're starting to struggle. And as it goes up further, 110, 120, that's that stonewalling range. Like we really start to shut down.
Right.
Yeah. Our heart's racing, we're sweaty, all this other stuff.
Yeah. So let's start there. How do we set up an exit plan?
Oh, okay. It's a great question.
Work our way backwards.
Yeah. I like it. So I always, in the research, Gottman, as well as many other people, we talk about turning towards each other rather than running away. So if you visualize you're in some sort of conflict, emotions are high, so it's kind of turned into like an argument of sorts, and you go to leave, you turn, you walk to the next room. What does the partner do? Often they follow and continue the conversation because you turned away, so they chase. And so if the exit plan looks something like this, and it's really up to the partners to figure that out, but it's to turn towards them and say, be authentic as much as we can and say, I'm really struggling with this conversation, or I need a break. I need out of this conversation.
Feeling overwhelmed. I need a minute.
Those are all great words to try to communicate.
And then what do you do? So you say this.
Yes.
And then what?
Then you make a plan, and it's, hey, I'm gonna take a minute, or I'm gonna go in the other room. I'm gonna take a walk, whatever it is. We'll come back to this later. And by making a plan of coming back to it, the other person tends not to chase, because they're like, okay, I need to take this time as well. You know, and optimally, we do some self-soothing practices during that to reduce our emotions. You know, if we sit with it and don't do much about it, we tend to work ourselves up rather than work ourselves down.
Yeah. Many a times I can recall early on with us, but or just any conflict really, you know, where you sit there and you're like, oh, I should have said this. I could have said this. And you like continue that conversation in your head rather than calming down and reflecting. Yeah.
So getting
don't stay in it.
Well, and another way to think of that is like you're staying in your head versus in your body.
Yeah.
And most self-soothing makes us feel good in the body. And so if we can kind of get out of the head and at that point, most of us, we've become emotional enough, myself included, that we're not quite thinking the way we'd want to. We're not thinking we're thinking me, I, you know.
I was going to bring
injury,
up the we
yeah.
later. Yeah, I like that.
So, and we're not thinking about how do we progress through the conversation to have some result. And sometimes that's not possible because there are conflicts that might not be resolvable. You know, because we have areas of flexibility where we're able to be flexible, and then we have areas of non-flexibility. You know,
Can you give like an example?
Oh, it's kind of think of it as a
like
core to somebody. Put me on the spot. I think an easy one to talk about would be like money. You know, areas of flexibility, we could do this or this. But, you know, if we felt very strongly about having X amount in our savings account and we're not flexible there, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of core beliefs.
Core belief stuff. Okay.
Yeah. You know, who we are as a person, the things that make us us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about how to exit, set up a time to come back. So is art of compromise, is that what would happen after you come back?
Well, yeah.
Is there more you want to say on the Four Horsemen?
No, that's kind of, we'll come back to the Four Horsemen because we'll talk about like what are the ways to kind of prevent those or what we can do about those. But the art of compromise is kind of what we're talking about. Those, you know, the core needs versus the area of flexibility. But as we make a plan to get out of an argument, research has shown that people who do it well, who communicate and can have conflict, can have emotion, can even have argument and come back to it and like do that process really well, they do what we call preemptive repair attempts.
Okay.
And so a repair attempt is trying to repair what has already happened, right? I mean, it's a basic definition, but so those would look like, you know, when I or anyone else, when I make a silly joke in the middle of a disagreement, that's actually trying to get us back on the same page.
Yeah.
And it might be completely uncalled for, and who knows, it may be a fart joke in the middle of something serious. But, you know, we all have these little things we do to try to realign with our partners.
Okay.
I don't know if you can think of any that you do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if sometimes I try to like offer physical touch, like holding your hand.
Well, that works usually for me.
That's your love language.
Yeah.
So I try to letting you know, like, okay, I understand we're in this point right now, and I know that I can't say anymore because I am worked up, but I can at least put my, hand on your arm or something like that.
Yeah. If the other person receives that. Yeah. And like we talked, I usually do. And so we can do preemptive ones, during the conversation or as we're leaving it. And then when we come back, that's kind of what we like to enter with.
Okay.
As we come back, hey, let's talk about that thing, what do we want and this and that. And we say, I appreciate this, I love this, or hey,
Okay, so kind of coming in almost like what do they call it? The sandwich, like where you come in with I love this, then this happened, but, blah, 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 blah. Like have the good stuff on the outside and then figure out the crunchy stuff on the inside kind of stuff.
Yeah, you could definitely, that is definitely one technique. It tends to work as long as it's done authentically and not,
right. Yeah. Well, I think that's what, in my mind, what I was hearing when you said the preemptive. So like you leave the conversation, I would put my hand on you and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need a minute. We take our time and then we come back and we can connect and then get back into it.
Yeah. I mean, not back into it, I wouldn't say,
yeah. But like
trying to stick to the part where there is a difference of perspective, rather than emotion driven,
right?
And people have different refractory periods or periods that they need space or time to calm themselves, to self-soothe. Somebody can have myself. Can have, conflict, and 5 minutes later, I'm ready to do whatever, or talk about it. Mm-hmm. And then,
sometimes me, not so much.
Yeah. Hours.
Nah, I don't know. Not every time. Not so much anymore. We've gotten really good about coming back together a lot sooner, and
so and
because for me, I notice it doesn't feel good. I don't want to sit in it and be upset, and I do want to have a resolution and be connected back to my person. So
and the managing conflict is about managing the emotion first, self-soothing practices, knowing when to leave. That's another one, is when do we leave? Like there's usually a range where right before, it's goes, I don't know what descriptor. I was going to say nuclear, but that's a little drastic.
I was going to say explosive. So it did seem a little big.
Yeah, it does seem big for the situation. But, learning of when to leave and then really focusing on how to have a dialogue or a discussion rather than a back and forth, emotion driven thing.
Yeah. So what are some guidelines in going through this? Well, I think we need to go back to the 4 Horsemen and kind of talk about that. And then we can talk about some guidelines on setting up how to walk through these steps or how to come back and language to use and things like that.
Yeah, and there's also a lot that you can do before any of this happens. How connected do we feel? If we feel really connected, it usually prevents most, emotion-driven arguments.
But also outside factors too. That was kind of going through my head. Like sometimes that time away gives you time to think about, why did I respond so strongly?
Yeah.
Because I know we've had that sometimes, like I'll react very strongly and you're like, where is this coming from? And I'm like, I don't know. And I start to think about outside factors, maybe something that happened earlier in the day or, and I'm like, okay.
Earlier in your life. I mean, or that impacts all of us
as well. Yeah. It came up in a certain way and wasn't, even aware until I was able to bring myself down to a more regulated state. So.
Well, and so let's get to we'll go to the 4 Horsemen, then we'll come to that. So we talked about, criticism. So what is the solution or what is the preventative measure for that?
Yeah.
And that is having a slow startup. anytime we can slow down, we're going to be more intentional. The conversation is going to go much better. If I rush into the room and say, why is this happening? Why is that happening? We expect, and maybe we're looking for a fight. I don't know. But if we say, hey, I was thinking about this and I was wondering about this. What do you think? Mm-hmm. This kind of language, this build up to a conversation instead of some abrupt,
attack, basically.
Feels,
to put
attack
somebody on
out
the defensive.
of left field.
Mm-hmm.
And
why can't you put your socks in the laundry basket?
Oh boy. Common ones. Why can't you fold the towel right?
Mm-hmm.
I've shown you 10 times.
Yeah.
Always the towel.
All right.
So, starting it up slow and managing your own emotion. When we're abrupt like that, it's usually because we're not doing a great job of managing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're frustrated, we're angry, or we're coming into that way.
Yeah.
And so definitely slow startup.
So say your partner comes at you with some criticism. You're feeling on the defensive. How can you navigate that in a more gentle approach?
Okay. So, that never happens for us. That's a joke, everyone. That tends to be our pattern. I can get defensive. Bri can come across as critical.
It's my tone, apparently. I got a tone about me, and I don't know how to change it. So
You don't have to. We recognize
I
our
am
patterns.
who I am.
And I love you for who you are. But the best thing I can do in those moments when I feel that defensive, and I might even say something that's defensive, but then if I take some responsibility
mm-hmm.
for my portion of whatever it is, and this is really, I'm not taking responsibility for everything.
Right.
If somebody comes at me and is like, oh, why didn't you do this, this, and this?
Mm-hmm.
I can say, hey, yeah, I didn't get that done. And I didn't prioritize that, or maybe I didn't make that a point to get that done, and that's my bad. The kids are jumping around, screaming and yelling and fighting with each other, so I was trying to manage that.
Yeah.
An explanation's okay
mm-hmm.
when we take responsibility first, then it doesn't feel like that defensiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
in most conflict, there's disagreement, there's room for both parties to take some responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's not usually, even though we think in the moment, or we wishful thinking.
No wrong.
Yeah, we didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. No, there's definitely space for both of us to take responsibility, and deterioration of communication as well, or whatever. And the next one is contempt, that I talked about. And that's a harder one, because that is really prevented outside of the conversation.
Okay.
That's done in the relationship. And that is by building a basis of shared fondness and admiration for each other.
Okay.
So if I, presume positive intent for my partner all the time, that, they might not like something, but the reason they're bringing the question or wondering about it is to make things more efficient or better in our life, that positive intent. It can prevent those types of statements. So shared fondness and admiration, those research says that couples doing well tend to have 5 positive things that the partner says about the other person to every 1 negative. Okay. So essentially I'd say, if I was talking to somebody or about, or thinking about you, for every 1 negative thought I had throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, whatever it is, I would have 5 positive thoughts.
Yeah.
That shows that we're hitting that shared fondness and admiration. We feel that the other person is a partner and there for us and we're connected and we like them and all these things, right? Whereas a couple struggling, it's usually about 0.8 to 1.
Okay.
So 0.8 positive things to every 1 negative things, almost 1 to 1.
Wow.
So, and that's not just out loud, that's our thinking style.
Mm-hmm.
If you catch yourself and you're going down that, you're going, okay, what am I going to do about this?
Yeah.
It's not my partner. My partner doesn't do anything about this. These are my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do to connect and feel good about this partnership?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't want to cut you off, but
No, you're good.
just in my mind, sometimes it's such an easy thing to do, but literally write them down. Like, think about that. Like, what do I love and enjoy about my partner? So when you are maybe in these moments, if you are in a more tougher point in the relationship, when you do have conflict arise, you can go back to your list and you can look at that in the moment, or it'll be easier to read it than try to write it because you're going to be upset.
Definitely.
In that moment,
And I don't even think you have to read it. Just writing it instills it in you. Like, you know. And that's why a lot of people believe in gratitude journals and that type of stuff. And
love it.
Great research that says those are helpful. They're beneficial. Or, gratitude meditations or something like that, where maybe you're not writing it, but you're just thinking about it, spending a few moments thinking about all the things you feel grateful for, including partners and lives and this and that. And that does increase that shared, connection and the fondness.
Yeah. A note app on your phone. You can just type it in there, whenever. But
whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
that positivity.
There's a joke right here. And
Is there? I'm not aware.
I know.
I can see it literally bubbling up, and you want to say it right now. So go ahead and speak it.
I got permission. Maybe it's a provocative picture of your partner, and that's helpful sometimes. You can be admiring that and have fondness for that.
I don't know if that's necessarily a joke, but that's a good idea.
Well,
I'll acknowledge that.
The way I was going to deliver it was much more crude and whatnot. So I toned it down a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. So, let's see. We're going to talk about kind of what it looked like, or, what maybe the language we could use.
Language for,
there's a lot out there. It has to feel good for the person and connected to them. Let's see, what do we use?
Well, I want to go back to the retreat real quick. One thing that they talked about was when you have things come up, bring it back to the we.
Yes.
Having a word or a phrase to help you when you are starting to feel like you're butting heads and you're against each other, to remind you that you are actually in it together. What's a word or a phrase that you guys can say when you can tell the other is starting to get a little more worked up? And for us, I think it's still just been we.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us of a fun time. And it's subtle, and I don't take offense to it, because I know sometimes you'll try to say like honey or something, and then that just for some reason ruffles my feathers, and I don't know why. I feel like maybe you're being condescending or something in the moment, even though you're not.
Yes, that is a good point.
Even though you're not.
I often get accused of that, even though I'm sincere.
Yeah, but the we is really easy.
I vote to move it to cucumber salad.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's what she said.
Yes.
You're welcome. I did that just for you.
Thank you. I like that. Okay, we can keep it as we. I just thought.
Yeah, I like we, because we're in this together. How can we repair this, or how can we move forward? What, So with language, go ahead. I just liked that little
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example of finding tools and techniques that work for the couple. And I spend a lot of time like exploring that with people. You know, what does that look like, and how do we do that? And there's a bunch of things out there on that. You know, people might have an inside joke, or you know, we talk about the retreat. You know, somebody might use the redo button. You know,
yeah, the redo button.
Touch the top of their head, say redo, turn around, and they come back into the conversation as their way of saying, "Hey, let's try this again." That was unintentionally, you know, hurtful or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff.
And I feel like, again, you know, bringing some lightness into it, you know, the redo button kind of gives you a little chuckle. You're like, okay. And it helps break that tension.
It does. It pulls you out of it. Which is really good.
Yeah. So, and again, reminds you that it's the we that's important.
Yeah. So. Well, and if your partner's not receptive to the redo button, then it's time to get out of that conversation and take a
break. And yes, for sure.
You know, all this is easy to say, but it takes practice. It takes a lot of work. I mean, yeah, I can remember some fights we've had, and yeah, sometimes nothing worked.
Yeah,
but
we've come a long ways. We've done a lot of work.
Yeah, that does feel like a while ago.
Yeah, feels really good. So language guidelines. Yeah, how to kind of setting this up so partners can. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Well, everything
have a game plan, basically.
Yeah, and that's where I was going as well. You know, everything we talk about here, if it's the last podcast, this podcast, you have to talk about it before you're in it.
Yeah, neutral.
Yeah,
not in the moment. Say, I heard this podcast and it says we need to do this. Don't do that.
Yeah,
please don't do that.
Yeah, that might come across as contempt. You know,
yeah,
it's like, I know better than you because I listened to this podcast and you didn't.
Yeah,
and so no, it's all about conversating outside of that, figuring out what works, sharing the podcast with your partner. I know some are resistant at times. You know, I have clients that have partners that might be a little resistant, or sometimes we're resistant to ideas.
Yeah.
So,
because it's, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone, trying new things, but, you know, this is something that is going to benefit the overall relationship, you know, so get comfortable being uncomfortable a little bit when you're exploring these new things that are at the benefit of yourself and your relationship, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't always have to have heavy conversations and in a non-enjoyable way. We can have conversations and be connecting at the same time. You know, I could, you know, rub your back and talk to you about what I want to be different.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a good approach, is like, hey, what could be better? What could be different? What could we do about this? You know, what can I do?
Yeah.
What can you do? And kind of that.
Ooh. You know what I think this podcast will segue into?
What's
that? Really well for next week? The relationship board meeting.
Oh, I thought you were going to butt stuff. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Honestly, it's because she made a joke earlier before we were recording about that. It's hilarious, but you know, I digress.
Relationship board meeting. Yeah, because you can take the tools of, you know, conversation and then how do you have that, you know, weekly connection and
I like the teaser.
Yeah.
For the next one.
I like how that works. Teaser for butt stuff.
Plenty of warm up.
Lots of lube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you think would be helpful for our listeners?
Yeah, as you said that, if we go back to building shared fondness and admiration, you can search that up. You'll come up on the Gottman website. There's ideas on there, but play. We've talked about this. Adults playing together and what that looks like, having fun, and doing fun things together. 3, 2, 1, all that other stuff.
Yeah,
really builds that as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, finding ways to enjoy your time together would be really good.
In and out of the bedroom.
Yeah. Anything else?
I mean, I have lots of other things, but not for today, I don't think.
Okay.
We can talk about like the 6-second kiss if you want, real quick. Leave that out there.
Yeah, I think that's a good little technique.
Yeah, so there's research that says about 6-7 seconds of lips to lips contact with your partner
on your face. Sorry,
I said lips to lips. Come on. I don't know. Well, I guess you're right.
Yep.
You're right. Face. That's a good point.
I am in a very playful mood apparently right now. So
that bodes well for me later.
6-second kiss.
Yes. It releases oxytocin, which is the comfort and bonding neurochemical, so to feel connected, and dopamine, which is feel-good reward center.
Yeah.
So it feels rewarding and it feels comforting. And, doesn't that sound wonderful? So,
yeah.
And we're not talking about not a make-out session.
No,
just
and I think I can't remember if we
and
talked about this on the first episode or if this is just something that I've shared with my clients for years now. When you're in a moment in your relationship where you're starting to feel this, sometimes disconnect, how do we come back to that? This is a great way to start bringing that back, that closeness, that connection. 6 seconds. Don't do the, peck on the cheek or the wave as they walk out the door. Like actually connect with your partner, because then that's going to continue to expand. And it is like, I challenge you, kiss for 6 to 7 seconds. It doesn't have to be a makeout session, literally just your lips against lips. And you will feel like this flood in your brain and you'll be like, ooh, okay. It's amazing. Science.
It's strange, but
yeah.
So that's always a good repair too.
And a good repair. Yeah.
Take some time, calm down, come back together and say, come here. I want to kiss you for 6 seconds.
Yeah. You'll feel your, body start to calm down and blood, heart rate go down and everything like that. Yeah. So it's really good. Can get you revved up or can bring you back down.
It's amazing like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. Thanks for sharing, honey.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoyed it, please leave a review for us and share that. And we will have links again to Gottman stuff in the show notes. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep. Send the podcast to all your friends.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.